Burn the boats, a quote from Julius Caesar, and one of my takeaways from today's podcast. Whether you're new to franchising or have been in it for a little while, I believe you will enjoy my conversation with Paul Fagan. Paul is the master licensee for ActionCoach in Ireland. He has a unique gift to teach by telling a story, and wow, are you in for a real treat. So many insights from this franchise professional. So I say, let's get started. Paul, what would you say are the top 3 skills that make someone successful in franchising?
That's an excellent question. Now, if I could give you a short answer, and that's follow the system, number 1. Number 2, follow the system. And number 3, follow the system. But I'll expand on that a little bit. Most franchises are built on systems. So if you take probably the best known franchise in the world, which is McDonald's, McDonald's is run on systems, everything. So here in Ireland, in Dublin Airport, they opened a McDonald's a couple of years ago, and they staffed it literally with students. So, the systems were strong enough for a restaurant to open and produce the food that McDonald's produce seamlessly with a group of college kids. So that's the power of systems. And at ActionCoach, we have a very, very powerful system. We've probably spent, over 30 years since Brad Sugars founded the business. We've used technology to maybe deliver our content in a different way, but we have core content, or I call it the contextual part of our coaching system. That hasn't changed and never will change, but how we deliver it changes massively, because obviously we're in a digital world compared to where we were when we first started. But the system is really, really important. It's why you invest in a franchise. And if you follow the system and work really hard to learn the system and follow the system, your chance of success are really high. If you deviate from that, if you decide that you don't want to use part of the system, or you want to skip steps in the system, that's probably going to give you a different result. A lot of cases, that result is probably not a successful result. So following the system is really, really critical. I think another key part in terms of the success is asking for help. So again, we have a worldwide community of coaches. We've over 1,000 coaches around the world, and every single one of them will answer a question if you ask them. Okay, they'll pick up the phone, they'll answer your phone, they'll more absolutely help you. So reaching out and asking for help is really critical. When we have our conferences, we go global conference around the world, or we have a regional conference. That's where you get to meet coaches face to face, and the wealth and knowledge and wisdom and their know-how is just exceptional. So our culture within our business is very much to help others. So ask for the help. Okay, don't sit at home in your own office trying to figure out something. Go and ask for the help. And again, technology has aided that in terms of there's Zoom calls, or you have Facebooks, you've got YouTube channels. We've got a ton of help. So ask for it. That I think would be number 2, and probably I would go back to those 2 as being the 2 primary ones. I wouldn't even go for a third one at this stage, William.
Any specific skills that you feel are preferable?
In terms of people's backgrounds,
yes.
Yeah, look, I've so recently looked at this from a review over the years. I think good general business experience is really, really important. All right, we're dealing with business owners, so you need to have a knowledge of how small businesses operate, what kind of experiences a business goes through from the various stages of growth, how they perform during difficult trading times. So being able to deal with the profit and loss account, the sales, the marketing, the team, and the production, the operations, good general knowledge of business and how business works it makes it an awful lot easier to be a coach. There are always exceptions, but a business owner very much needs your wisdom and understanding so that you can then apply the ActionCoach systems to fix and help grow the business in a particular way.
And what made you choose to invest in franchising, and specifically in this industry?
Okay, that's excellent. I had a career in banking, and when I was in banking, I was in corporate banking. I used to look at franchising, and I was a lending officer. So we would look at business proposals, lending proposals from various businesses. either startups or existing businesses. So I had a really good sense or flavor of how to assess risk. And no matter what country you are in the world, there's a failure rate of new businesses. And we use a statistic here: 65% of businesses will fail in their first 5 years. You can use the 80% rule, the 80-20 rule, but if 65% fail in Ireland in their first 5 years as startup, the ones that survive, another 65% of those are going to fail in their second 5 years. So by the time you get to 10 years, very few businesses make it past the 10-year mark. In my local hometown, it's on a seafront, there's a harbour, and there's plenty of business premises. But what happens is those businesses last somewhere between 10 and 12 months. They last less than a year. And a person maybe coming out visiting the harbour area will see the business premises vacant and said, do you know what? I'm going to put a coffee shop in there. Now, they never asked anybody what business was in there before, but it probably was a coffee shop. Okay? So what I love about watching a business like that starting is they go in, they rip out everything that was there, they put their own look and feel on it, they spend a lot of money fitting out kitchens and the furnishings and everything else. They open their doors, and they've not invested anything in marketing. They haven't invited the local community or what I would say friends and family to actually experience it. And they think by opening their doors with a new sign and a lick of paint that they're going to be successful. And most of those businesses fail. Now, we talked about success rates in franchising. The opposite is there. So most franchises have a proven system, a well-established system. ActionCoach is over 30 years on the planet operating the same system. We're operating this system in Ireland for 23 years. It works, okay? So a franchise will give you a much higher, success ratio, right? And oftentimes, if somebody looking at buying into a franchise will be saying, okay, this is expensive. They're asking for a lot of money, and they're asking for a royalty fee, and they're asking for a marketing fee. And the reality is, contextually, that's a lot of money at the beginning. All right. But you have to compare it to something else. And what are you comparing it to? And in my experience as a banker and also as running ActionCoach here in Ireland is by the time somebody starts their own consulting business, they'll have done some form of training, but the slow growth of them developing their services, their trainings, their coaching programs will cost money. All right. And by the time they have developed it, they are so far behind the rest of the pack. I know with 23 years experience, I know what works here and I know what doesn't. And I know that the way we operate our business, the people we attract are destined for success if they follow our system.
Say I was looking to invest in a franchise. What questions should I ask of a franchisor when I'm looking at a franchise investment?
I think I would very much take a look at what the operating model is. So, how long is the first thing I'd be asking is, well, how long is the business around for? Okay. Does it have a proven track record? Those are critical. And you can probably find that information out before you get to that question. But I'd certainly like to see the operating systems. Okay. What am I supposed to be doing, and how does the job look? And it's very easy when you look at something like a McDonald's. Most people on the planet have actually gone in and eaten in a McDonald's or in the equivalent of a Burger King. So you get an idea of what they provide as a product or service. It's much harder when you're looking at a coaching franchise like ActionCoach, because you can't actually see what we do. So you've got to really dig deep into what is the toolbox that I have available to me. I'd certainly be looking at, and it depends on how much information the master franchisor can provide you with. I'd certainly be looking at what's the income potential, what are my earnings potential, what's the growth potential within that sector. These are questions you'd be doing as part of your due diligence anyway. Is the potential there for me to be successful inside in the business?
And Why do you feel franchising is so popular at this stage?
I think a lot of people have a dream to run their own business. Okay, and when I started working, I joined the bank straight from school. Now those options aren't there anymore, but most men and women that joined the bank straight from school would work for 40 years and they'd retire with their pension and they'd be going away doing, they get a gold watch. Okay, that was the way. Nowadays, just in the changing world that we've seen in the last maybe 10 years, students coming out of university and college could have 4 or 5 jobs before they're 30. 4 or 5 different careers in different industries. So the idea of staying for a lifetime in something is virtually non-existent, right? I think a lot of people change careers 1 or 2 times of, I certainly have an older generation. So people who've reached maybe 40s or 50s have probably stayed with 2 or 3 major companies within the industry, or have moved in a couple of industries. But most people don't have the appetite to take the risk. Okay, they have the dream, but they don't have the risk profile that says, look, it's like jumping out of a plane and hoping that your parachute opens, and giving up your safe, secure, pensionable job can be very daunting for a lot of people. And they may not have partner support. They may have young families and they haven't got the ability to raise the finance. But I've said it earlier, franchising is a proven model that is likely to succeed if you apply and follow the system, compared to starting out on your own. So for those people who have a lower risk threshold or appetite, which tends to be the people that we look for, the franchising is a very popular way to do it because it's a successful, proven model. It's a work from home business. Most people do a level of remote working these days. So this is a business that can operate from either a home office or a high street location. So, yeah.
Well, that was my follow-up. How do you feel, how does ActionCoach become such a powerhouse in the white-collar franchise space? You've been with Master Licensee in Ireland for more than 20 years. So how has ActionCoach become such a powerhouse, do you feel?
I have to go back to the system, all right? So, the system is absolutely world-class and it's second to none. In my 23 years, and we're 23 years operating ActionCoach here in Ireland, I've seen what I would call copycat training, consultancy, coaching organizations come along. And for a while, they make a lot of noise and they seem to be doing great. And there's none of them standing at this moment in time. So longevity is certainly attached to ActionCoach. It's 30 years or more on the planet since Brad Sugars founded it. And it's been operating globally in many, many countries. So our system is world class. It works around different marketplaces. I don't know if that necessarily addresses that part of it, but the second piece of it is we attract really fantastic people into our business who are passionate about growing themselves, who are passionate about helping business owners be more successful. We have an incredible impact in terms of tangibles like growing sales, improving profits, getting better performance from team. But we have a really transformational impact on how the coaching impacts on the business owner, how it impacts on their families, how it impacts on their team. I had a client recently talking about the growth of taking on team and how he nurtures the team. And for him, he actually made the point of the 7 people he has working with him, he has helped 5 of them buy a house or buy a home. Now that's a significant impact that we have working with our clients and that our clients have. Our clients create jobs. They build the community around in the area that they work. They contribute to that community and they help people start families, start homes. So we're very, very successful on that. And they are the two powerhouse strengths of our business. The people we attract the impact we have, and the system that we use.
Coming out of the banking sector, what advice would you give someone is making such a career transition from banking or any other sector in corporate world, and what others can learn from your experience?
Yep. Okay. It's a great question. I thought this the other day, William. There was an expression called burn the boats. Okay. And I'm going to attribute it to Julius Caesar, but I'm not sure if that's correct. But the concept of burning the boats was when you land on a new island or a new place, the soldiers were told to burn the boats. Therefore, there's no way to run away. Okay. And coming from a career, it doesn't matter if it's in banking, if it's in accounting, if it's in, the IT or the science section, it doesn't matter what background it is. You ultimately have to back yourself. And that's the biggest thing. Everybody will tell you their own opinion of whether the product or service that you're investing in is good or bad, right? Everyone will have their opinion, but none of them will know anything about it, if that makes sense. But ultimately, the person that perhaps is listening to this will have to make that decision to, as I said earlier, jump out of the plane and hope that their parachute works. And the difference between me and somebody looking at this is I was in those shoes. I was in those shoes many times. I looked at many different franchises until I found ActionCoach. I assessed them as a banker. I said that a little bit earlier as well. And one day I woke up and I realized, for any decision I make, I have to back myself. And I have to burn the boats, and I have to be prepared. And I like that expression, burning the boats, because you can only look forward. You cannot look backwards, and you cannot go backwards. So there's an expression I sometimes share with people looking to buy into a business or start out on their own. I met two prospective clients recently who had started out on their own, and there's a concept of freedom. Okay. And the freedom is, I don't know how to put it in many words, but it's not your traditional meaning of freedom. It's actually freedom from fear of going to work, freedom from tiredness of going to work, freedom of turning up in the office and looking at the same faces of the boss or your manager or somebody who's just not promoting you or giving you the career breaks. You don't have that fear anymore. You actually have a freedom of an unbelievable sense of confidence, and I can do this. And that's something that business ownership gives you, but you have to make a decision to jump out of the plane before you get that. Does that make sense?
So that makes lots of sense. And actually, I'm of the feeling that, do you feel that you can learn to become an entrepreneur?
I think if I could say the following, there's a fantastic book called The E-Myth, The Entrepreneurial Myth by Michael Gerber. And, the majority of people think that entrepreneurs start businesses. All right. But there's actually two other categories of people who start businesses. One is a manager. All right. And one is what's described as a technician. And in simple pieces, there's very few entrepreneurs on the planet. Okay. They tend to have names like Branson or Musk or Jobs or Zuckerberg. It doesn't really matter. You know who I'm talking about, right? These guys are exceptional. And there's ladies and men who are true entrepreneurs, right? Very, very creative, exceptionally rare on the planet. Most business owners are either managers or they've trained to do something like a profession or a trade. We call it a trade here. So they might train to be a carpenter or a dentist or a doctor or an engineer or a solicitor or an accountant. And they end up in the business of accounting, law, pharmacy, which is chemist, right? And they run a business based on what they train to be. Now, that's where they really, I guess, their expertise of delivering accounting services or legal services is second to none. It's really, really, they're highly qualified. They're really, really good at it, but they've never been trained to run a business. And, you talked about, can you train an entrepreneur? I think an entrepreneur is in the mindset of brilliant creativity. We can train business owners to be far more successful than they are on their own. And our results speak for themselves. We can train them, so you can create them, and you give them the systems that they need to run their businesses, and they can become better. And if they learn to run one business, then they can learn to run a second business, and that's when they start becoming entrepreneurial. All right. And I teach this because it's really important for us to pass our wealth of knowledge and experience back to younger generations. And I teach our entrepreneurship programs to younger students. So they're probably 16 years of age. Here in Ireland, there's a group, they have a year in college that they can, investigate different types of potential careers, and they do a mini business program where they start their own business. And it's fascinating to see the talent and the energy and the imagination of these younger generation, right? But they also need our help. They need to know the ways to make profit, the ways to grow sale, the ways to hire the right people, the sales, the marketing, all of the elements of a business. And, we have a magic box with tools in it. We share that with our clients, and the results our clients get are phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Finally, going back now 22 years plus in the business, is there anything that you look back and you said, I'd do differently, or anything that you would change?
Yep, absolutely. If I could turn back time, is that great expression? We can't. It's kind of funny. I turned 60 in the last year, so I technically would be rolling up to get that gold watch and that retirement thing. And I was speaking to one of my coaches yesterday, and he's 68, so he meets the lads at the tennis club a couple of times a week. And most of the guys who are retired wish they were back working. And most of the guys who are working wish they were back retired. So it's really fascinating to turn the clock back. I wish I'd started 20 years earlier. I wish I'd known about this 20 years earlier. I started ActionCoach in Ireland when I was in my late 30s. And I'd spent the middle part of my 30s trying to figure out, did I stay in the banking career or did I go and run my own business? And, you get to a certain level in any corporate organization, and then there's a queue ahead of you. And if it's a young organization, there's a queue of very talented people at the same age as you, so they're not going anywhere. There's suddenly a traffic jam on promotion and how far up an organization you can get. And many people looking at this are in that exact place. They've either been passed over for that promotion, or, there could be a lady working in an organization and the guy down the corridor gets it and she should have got it, or a guy gets passed over because somebody's thought of him more favorably, right? I wish that I had started my business with ActionCoach 20 years younger than I had. And that's the only thing. I can't turn back time. All right. But that is the thing. I wish I'd made the decision to put the parachute on, to get into the airplane, and then to jump out of the airplane.
That is brilliant advice. Paul Fagan, Master Licensee for ActionCoach in Ireland. Thank you for your time, and I really, really appreciate the insight.
Very welcome. Very welcome, and I really enjoyed it.
Cheers. Thanks for joining us today, and hope you have gained some valuable insights into the world of franchising. My name is William Lesante, and I would like to invite you to the next episode of the Franchise Coach podcast. Please make sure to like and subscribe and share with your network. Also, click the link below to learn more about franchising with ActionCoach. Thank you.